Hello everybody and welcome back to the channel. I am your illustrious host, Doodleman149, and welcome to the final installment of my viewer variants series. In this critically acclaimed YouTube original series, I receive suggested weapon builds from you, the viewers and subscribers, and test them out in my three main game modes for Modern Warfare, Core Domination, Ground War, and Plunder. In case you've been sheltered your whole life, here's the ratings chart I use to judge all of your suggestions. For the 100th time or so, we have a suggestion from TZAV Gaming, the premier source of weapon build suggestions. Today, he attempts to build off his former suggestion of a Black Scar and Deagle combo. Instead, we have a slightly faster, stealthier Scar build and a semi-automatic G18, just a fancy-looking X16 really. Now, I am excited to get into this class because for once, TZAV has suggested a pistol build that isn't akimbo, thank the heavens. Now, before I hop into this final installment, if at the end of this video you found you've had a good time and want to hear more from me, remember to like this video and subscribe for more great Modern Warfare and Battlefield 2042 content. Enough blowing my own horn though, let's get to why you're all here, this viewer variant. For TZAV's final Scar suggestion, we have the FN Scar H. This build starts out in the muzzle section with the monolithic suppressor for boosted damage range and sound suppression. The Scout Combat Optic is next used for a boosted visual engagement range at the cost of ADS speed. Rubberized grip tape boosts our recoil control at the cost of aiming stability. 30-round magazines sacrifice general mobility for a 50% increase in ammo. And this build is finalized by the Commando foregrip for boosted aiming and recoil stabilization while slowing our movement speed overall. For a secondary, TZAV has developed a semi-automatic G18. This X16 build starts off in the muzzle section with a muzzle brake for boosted recoil stabilization. The Vanguard Elite Barrel is next for boosted range and recoil control at the cost of speed. Rubberized grip tape further helps cut down on vertical recoil. 26-round magazines double our ammo capacity while further slowing this build. And the final attachment is the lightweight trigger that boosts our fire rate greatly while harming our aiming stability. TZAV has suggested specific perks, so I'll be noting them here. We start off with EOD for increased survivability against explosives. Ghost is our second perk, which keeps us hidden from UAVs and heartbeat sensors. Battle Harden lessens the effectiveness of hostile tactical grenades, and our tactical is a stun grenade with our lethal being a Semtex. Going from the Kyle R 2.0 and the Israeli Boomstick classes from the past two times, the Ghosted Scar definitely felt slower and more limited. The Scar itself is a fairly heavy weapon, and these attachments don't do anything to alleviate that. That being said, this Scar build is noticeably faster in terms of ADS speed than the previous Black Scar class. The lack of an extended barrel both helps to alleviate weight problems and to keep our aim pretty snappy. The Scout Optic had me a little worried for core domination. However, just as with the Israeli Boomstick, the backup weapon was more than adequate to handle close-range fights. The G18, despite being the semi-auto version, was a fantastic pistol build. The extended mags are, and always will be, ugly, and honestly, I never really felt like I needed them. But the option to spam 26 bullets was always a nice thought. The muzzle brake, rubberized grip tape, and extended barrel work great to keep our recoil very on point, and the light trigger makes sure those bullets are hitting our enemies as fast as possible. This secondary saved my butt on more than one occasion. EOD and Ghost were solid, as they always are. Battle Harden was, again, sadly underutilized as I just wasn't getting hit with any stuns or flashbangs. The stun and Semtex combo is just my regular class setup anyway, so that was a nice familiar feel for this class. For core domination, TZAV's Ghosted Scar class gets itself a 7 out of 10. Strangely enough, I found the G18 to be the stronger of the two weapons when used in Ground War. There was a long stint where I was attempting to move from house to house on farmland, and I took out the G18 for speed and ended up using it almost exclusively to fight my way into a house and clear it. The stuns and Semtex were great for softening up targets in the house before I moved in for the finish. The Scout Optic on the Scar here is a great choice as I was using it at longer ranges anyway, and this really helped to spot enemies and put them down. EOD was more useful here as it helped me survive encounters with IAVs, and the Ghost was great for allowing me to flank the enemy battle lines. Battle Harden helped a couple of times, and it probably saved me in those situations. For Ground War, this Scar H G18 class earns itself an 8 out of 10. For Warzone, specifically in this case Clash, the Ghosted Scar class is adequate at most things. The Scar's buff damage to the upper torso in Warzone makes it a great contender for straight up slugfest, but I was finding it hard to finish enemies at range with this build. The suppressor was basically a must, that way we can hide from the minimap while Ghost hit us from UAVs. I really wish stuns and Semtexes were more effective against enemy juggernauts since you can buy those in Clash, but against regular opponents this kit was solid. EOD again wasn't a big deal here, just like in core domination.
The G18 was able to surprisingly cut through enemy armor very quickly. I was honestly surprised how effective it was as a backup or as a CQC primary. I didn't have the hilarious ladder fight like I did with the P320s, but this overall class was still fun to run. This Scar and X16 combo racks up a 5 out of 10 for Warzone and Plunder. Overall, out of TZAV's 3 newest suggestions for viewer variants, the Ghosted Scar, despite it being my favorite weapon, was probably the weakest amongst the 3. The Scar itself was pretty good in core domination. It definitely had limitations, but that's what you then compensate for with good gun skill and your secondary weapon. Ground War was the Scar's strongest mode because of the low health of enemies and the longer ranges of engagement. Warzone was tougher on the Scar, but the long ranges still made it viable and a hard-hitting option. The G18 was basically gold in all 3 modes. It was fast and strong enough in core domination to be used basically whenever you needed it. It was also very good at clearing buildings in Ground War, surprisingly, and it still, beyond belief, murdered enemies in Warzone. The perk choices were pretty standard, but Battle Hardened is always a little hit or miss perk because it relies entirely upon the enemy's use of tacticals before it becomes effective. When it is used, though, it is very powerful. It's just not consistent the way that tracker is or amped. Semtexes and stuns are my bread and butter, so I love that. For a final rating, TZAV's Ghosted Scar class gets itself a 7 out of 10. This build was a ton of fun to use, even if it did feel like the primary weapon lacked a little bit in Warzone. There's not too much I would change on the Scar, except maybe a hollow sight instead of a scout, simply for the versatility a medium range optic offers. Also, I don't think the 30s were needed. I'd rather be a bit faster and 5 less bullets personally, but that's just me. What do you all think of this latest Scar suggestion to hit my viewer variant series? Do you think I'm on point with this, or am I off base? Let me know in the comments below. And with that, this video is done. If you think I did a good job with this one, feel free to drop me a like, comment, or even a subscription if you think I deserve it. Literally any interaction with the channel helps YouTube to promote it to more people, so do whatever you feel I deserve, even if that's nothing. This also marks the end of the viewer variant series for Modern Warfare, so I'd like to thank everyone who participated. It was a ton of fun, and I do hope to do it again sometime. After this, I just have one more Modern Warfare video to drop to say goodbye to the title. So, I've been your host, as always, Doodleman149. I look forward to seeing you next time, and I will see you later.